Okay, so we are going to have a look at the book of Exodus, or Liberation, as translated by Aramaic speaking, native born Aramaic speaking translator Victor N. Alexander from Bethnarain or Mesopotamia, Syria. He was maybe bought the original Old Testament manuscripts and the Galilean Aramaic manuscripts from a high priest of the original church founded by Thomas, the Apostolic Orthodox Assyrian Catholic Church of the East, or whatever you call it, and then found that it was in the original language after being told, no, don't translate from the Syriac, it's wrong by this high priest. So he found a way, because it's an old dead language, or tongue, nobody uses it anymore. He found a way where he could translate it, and he translated it into the nearest English equivalent while staying faithful to what those scriptures actually said or say. And here they are. And he stated here on his website that was down, but we resurrected it. The book of Exodus should have been called Liberation, because this is what God did for the Israelites. He liberated them from slavery. Again, this book has been translated from the ancient Aramaic original sources. Exodus should have really been translated as liberation, because that is what the word means in the original Hebrew Aramaic language. So they were sister languages. Today you have the modified Hebrew, modern Hebrew, so they have similar words but different meanings, i.e. Elohim, E-L-O-H-O-E-M, and Elohim, E-L-O-H-I-M, Yom, and geez, the other word for day, I've forgotten it at the moment. In the Aramaic, Ma'kana. Exodus implies that the children of Israel were ousted or kicked out or driven out, when in fact they were liberated by the Lord to become a nation that would serve His purpose, and they did serve His purpose. They were the chosen nation of God, through whom Christ would come, Jesus the Christ, and they would be taught the scriptures, introduced to the scriptures, etc. These non-Jews, foreigners, Gentiles, Goyim, etc. Foreign nations. Old note, okay? Victor N. Alexander stated here at this time that he was back to translating the book of Exodus. He had stopped translating it after he completed chapter 21. But then he saw the need to return to it. He had begun translating the book of Isaiah because he wished to translate more about the coming of the Messiah. However, recent events, again, at that time, in the US justice system made him realize the importance of the laws that were given to Moses and the Ten Commandments. So let's have a look at Exodus 1:4. Okay, welcome back. We are going to look at the book of Exodus, or Liberation, as translated by native-born Aramaic-speaking translator Victor N. Alexander from Bethnarain or Mesopotamia, Syria, now living in the US. He either bought or somehow got a copy of the original Old Testament in the Lishana Artika Sapraya, the language of God, that which He spoke to Adam and Eve in the garden, etc., of the Assyrian Aramaic or the Tav Asherit, the sister language of the ancient, very old Tav Ivri, Hotep, i.e. the original ancient, very old Hebrew. So it's not modern, it's not a modern translation, it's from the original manuscripts. Probably kept safeguarded by the church that Thomas the disciple founded, along with Adai, etc. The Apostolic Orthodox Catholic Assyrian Church of the East, however you call it. Because he was told, no, don't change it. Why translating the Syriac? It's wrong, etc. Okay, so he completed Matthew, Mark, and Luke or something, so he had to start again. And he found a way to translate this old dead language, or old tongue, because obviously no one used it anymore. And he did so translating into the nearest English equivalent, and also by staying faithful to what these scriptures have actually said or say. The book of Exodus should have been called Liberation, because this is what God did for the Israelites. He liberated them from slavery. Again, this book has been translated from the ancient Aramaic original source. Exodus should have really been translated as liberation, because that is what the word means in the original Hebrew Aramaic language. They were sister languages, right? But now there's a modern Hebrew, Israeli Hebrew, so their words way back in ancient days had similar meanings, obviously because they were sister languages, but because it was modified, the Hebrew was modified, they now have similar words with different meanings, like yom for day, and we've just forgotten what the other word was in the Aramaic for day, and Elohim, Elohim in the Aramaic, and Elohim in the Hebrew, Elohim. They have different meanings. Okay. Mapkana, Exodus implies that the children of Israel were ousted or driven out, when in fact they were liberated by the Lord, or God, to become a nation that would serve His purpose, and they did serve His purpose, because the Christ was supposed to come through that line, that holy line, and then all the non-Jews, Goyim, Gentiles, etc. would learn from these Jews about the scriptures, the Old Testament, and then the disciples of Jesus basically wrote down what they testified to, what they saw the Christ do and what He said. Right? And then it was supposedly given to the Church of the East, founded by Thomas, Adai maybe, and others involved, and hidden and preserved for over 2,000 years, because what's his name, Emperor Constantine wanted to get hold of them and destroy them, and also destroy those particular people, as the Roman Catholic Church did over the years, over the centuries. And Islam, they hid it from Islam, but Islam wasn't really interested. They just said, don't have any icons or idols. Okay, icons are okay as long as you're under us and you respect the law of Islam or Mohammedanism at the time, you'll be okay. Okay. So it's basically it there, what the book of Exodus actually is. So let's have a look at Exodus 1:4, Exodus 1 through to chapter 4. Okay, these are the names of the sons of Israel that entered Egypt with Jacob, each man in his household they entered. Okay, because apparently there was a famine. They thrived well in the land of Egypt, but then Joseph etc. died, and there rose a new king or pharaoh over Egypt who did not know them, who did not know Joseph. And he said to his people, behold, or look, this nation, the Israelites, they are more than us and thriving better than us. They're doing better than us. Let us take our woman, let us take their women as wives, until there is more of us, lest not there be war, and they join our haters also and fight against us and wipe us off the land and take over our land. Let us take their woman. Okay, who said that? So the Pharaoh appointed evil governors over them in order to enslave them through their professions, and they made them build towns like prison cells for the Pharaoh, for Pithom and Ramses. And no matter how they enslaved them, they still increased and thrived, and they were really bothered by the children of Israel. Zawi Hawass, the Egyptologist, very renowned, very, very well known, who supposedly was accused of stealing artifacts and selling it to museums around the world, stated on one of his videos that there were no Jews that were slaves in Egypt. He has the evidence that there's all these houses there. Apparently the Egyptian people were told, well, you got to help build this and this, or else you're going to get heavily taxed. Whether you like the Pharaoh or not that just died, we're going to create a memorial to him. So you got a choice. But on hand, there was like physicians, standing in the pits or something like that. A rock or something fell on someone's foot, they'd heal them, right? They had houses where they lived. Apparently, some of them wrote on the walls, I'm so and so, a worker or something, Egyptian worker, something like that. Okay, according to the Zawi Hawass, or this sort of stuff, right? You have to go check out his video. They take our word for it. Okay, so they basically oppressed the children of Israel heavily, this is according to the Jewish scribes, the prophets, people, etc. Right? And they embittered their lives with heavy labour, the mixing of clay, and the laying of bricks, and with every type of field work, and they made them perform each profession to its ultimate hardship. So if you're a carpenter, well, you were employed as a carpenter, but you were oppressed. If you were a brick maker, right, you were solidly making bricks. And the king of Egypt commanded the midwives, the name of the first one was Puah, and the name of the other was Shipra. And he said to them, as you conduct the birthing of the Hebrew woman, look carefully when you kneel to deliver them. If they are males, kill them, and if they are females, let them live. And the king of Egypt called the midwives, and the midwives feared God and did not do as the king of Egypt. He commanded them, and they let the boys live. These midwives feared the one true God, Maya Allah, right, of the Israelites. And the midwives feared God and did not do that as the king had commanded, and they let the boys live. And the king of Egypt called the midwives and told them, why did you make this decision and let the boys live? And the midwives said to the Pharaoh, they told a white lie, unlike the Egyptian woman, the Hebrew women are midwives themselves, and before we have even arrived, they have already given birth to live children. And God blessed the midwives, those particular midwives, for making this decision, and the nation grew and thrived well. That section of Egypt, right? Okay. And it came to pass that as the midwives showed fear of God, God made them into households, and the Pharaoh commanded all the people, saying, every son that is born, drown him in the river, and every daughter let her live, so they can breed with them, okay, and outbreed these Israelites, basically. So we have read quite a while ago that Jacob went to Egypt because there was a famine. Okay? When Joseph was ruling there or something like that, they were in the land of Goshen or wherever they were, according to scriptures, and there was a famine, and then people from Europe, what's now Europe, they also came because there was a famine going through Europe at that time, and Egypt had plenty, and they were welcomed in, according to Dr. Ben Yochanan, Dr. John Henry Clark. They were welcomed in, but they rode their chariots up and down and made heaps of noise and were annoying. So the King Amos at the time said, right, get them out because they're annoying, etc., etc. So they ousted them and they went to build their own kingdom. Gosh, I've forgotten the name, but it's another Avaris. So yeah, in other words, Zion. So they attacked them. The king attacked them, tried to drive them out, but he died. So his son, in vengeance, tried to attack them, but he died. So apparently the woman, his wife, became king queen. Maybe wore a false beard, or and trained her son up to in the art of war, because at that time he was 18. So about 20ish, sometime later, he goes and attacks him and drives him out to the Red Sea, apparently, and drowns him, kills him and drowns him. That's according to the Egyptian stories. It varies on the pillars, etc. in Luxor, Saqqara, etc. Videos of Dr. John Henry Clark and what's his name, Ben Yochanan, that went there and explained it to another European guy. Look for that video. Okay. Okay, so they gave him a hard time, right?